It's 8:20. Let's talk to Dr. Bradley Freeman, professor of surgery at Washington University. Good morning, Dr. Bradley Freeman.
Good morning, McGraw.
Um, let's get right to it. First of all, let's start with this benefits. You passed me this note about this longer-lasting new painkiller. That sounds scary. What's that all about?
Yeah, so this has turned into a very interesting story. So a new drug has recently been approved by the Federal Drug Administration, the FDA. It's called Zahydra, and in essence, it's a long-acting version of a medicine that has been on the market for decades that's used to treat pain, and that's called hydrocodone. It's present in a lot of medications that are commonly prescribed, such as Vicodin. And the interesting thing about this drug is that it is long-acting, and there's some advantages to that, particularly in patients that have chronic pain. So those might be patients that have, say, cancer or something like that. And it's a drug that can be dosed twice a day and achieve consistent levels of the drug in the bloodstream, so that pain is adequately treated. The problem becomes that there's a tremendous amount of concern that this drug it can be crushed up and potentially injected or snorted or something like that. And there's been so much concern about it, interestingly, that attorney generals from 28 states have actually petitioned the FDA to reconsider its approval, which I think is quite unprecedented. And I think that really points to the problem of abuse of prescription painkillers in our society. As we've talked before, this is turning into an epidemic, and it turns out that over 16,000 deaths a year in the United States are attributable to drug overdose from narcotic pain medications, and that's a fourfold increase over a decade. So this is a tremendous problem, and we all know about the pill mills and whatnot that pop up in a number of states, and I think the controversies concerning this drug represents that. And I think, interestingly, this drug has not had tremendous uptake in amongst the medical community. It appears that only 1,000 physicians to date have prescribed this drug. So again, I think it points out to the epidemic of this problem in our society, and the fact that when patients are prescribed narcotic pain medication, they should really be prudent as it's used. You don't want to become an habitual user, and you want to take every effort to avoid addiction.
Is this drug, and I missed it if you said it, is it opiate based? Kind of
Yes.
like it is, okay.
It's an opiate, yes. It's an opiate, so it would be, say, a derivative of, say, morphine.
Right. So, and when we know that when you crush it up, it is much. I don't know if this is the right terminology, but it is much more effective at being a recreational drug than a prescription drug.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
you get a very intense high.
Yeah.
And interestingly, there are technologies on the horizon and are incorporated into some pills that essentially preclude the ability to do something like that, so that you could have a formulation where it would be, say, impossible to crush it, so that you could extract a more potent compound. And that is what some of the individuals who are concerned about this drug point to.
It's also what is fueling the heroin epidemic all across the country. These painkillers that kids are getting a hold of, adults are being addicted to, and then ultimately we find them, with a needle in their arm 6 months, 2 years later, whatever it may be.
Absolutely. No, and as anything, it is, there's potential for these drugs, even though they're prescribed in a very well-meaning fashion, to be diverted. So a family member might get a hold of them, somebody might sell them on the street, what have you, and potentially it's a gateway to even more dangerous drugs.
Doctor, how come when I was growing up and you were growing up, we didn't hear about oxycodone and all these other opiate-based painkillers? Were they around, or what's happened in the last 20 years?
Well, I think they were around, and I think that's an excellent question. So I don't think they were quite as pervasive as they are now, and so I think that drugs, these opiate drugs, have become much more common. There's a lot of Me Too drugs, meaning very different drug manufacturers produce comparable drugs, so they're more common in say, the drug formulary, meaning the armamentarium that physicians have to prescribe. I think they've become used more liberally, and I think, in essence, I think that's good. We want to treat patients' pain in an adequate fashion, but a side effect of that has been the potential for their abuse, and so I think the reason we did not hear about it as much is that there were not as many drugs and opportunities to abuse them.
Yeah. Did you see 60 Minutes on Sunday, Doctor?
I did not. I unfortunately did not.
Did you hear about it?
I did not.
It was a story. Leslie Stahl did a story about how scientists, doctors and scientists, are realizing that drugs affect men and women differently, and that the whole scientific community might have to go back and relook at many drugs, because while some affect women one way, the same drug affects men differently, and different doses, different styles, and all. And it seems like that the medical community hasn't done trials on men or women. They've done them together, and it looks like the human body reacts differently to some of these drugs.
That's a hot topic, and that is a very hot topic, and how drugs behave differently, not only in, say, based on men or gender, men versus women, amongst ethnic groups, African American, Caucasians, Asians, Hispanics, and so that is a hot topic, and I think it will force the investigational community to revisit how we construct and conduct those types of studies. And so, that is a very interesting point, and will cause us potentially to revisit drugs that we've kind of tossed aside because we thought they were ineffective.
Yeah, and they said that Xanax, I think it was the FDA, recommended that women take half a Xanax because they metabolize it differently than men do. It was really interesting stuff. Anyway, if you get a chance, Doctor, I know you're very busy saving the world and talking to us on a Wednesday, but it was really kind of interesting.
I will find that online.
You got it. Dr. Bradley Freeman, professor of surgery at Washington University. Thank you, Doctor. Have a good day.
Hey, have a great day.
You got it. 827 here, Big 550, KTRS. Ladies and gentlemen, are you in the market for a new house? Are you